Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever noticed the way you speak to yourself? The words you use when no one is around? What if I told you that the way you talk to yourself could completely change the way you see the world and the way the world sees you? It's time to start speaking to yourself with love, patience, and respect. For the next 3 days, try this. Talk to yourself like you would talk to a friend, with kindness, encouragement, and understanding. You'll be amazed at how it can transform your mindset, your confidence, and your entire outlook on life. Most of us spend so much of our time worrying about what others think of us that we forget the most important opinion to consider is our own. We can be our biggest cheerleaders or our harshest critics. Imagine if you could be your own biggest supporter, someone who always believes in you, no matter what. That is the power of talking to yourself in a way that is kind, compassionate, and uplifting. For the next 3 days, try making a commitment to change the conversation in your mind. Instead of focusing on your mistakes or shortcomings, focus on your strengths and the things you've done well. Be kind to yourself in a way that builds your confidence, not tears it down. You deserve to speak to yourself with the same love and respect that you would give to the people you care about the most. It's easy to fall into the trap of negative self-talk. It's easy to get caught up in the cycle of criticism and doubt. But what if you could interrupt that cycle with words of encouragement, understanding, and grace? By making small changes in the way you speak to yourself, you begin to shift your mindset from one of limitation to one of possibility. And when you start seeing yourself in a more positive light, you begin to show up differently in the world. We all have an inner dialogue, a voice inside our heads that constantly speaks to us, often without us even realizing it. For many of us, this inner voice can be incredibly critical, pointing out every mistake, every flaw, and every perceived failure. We tend to be our own harshest critics, constantly measuring ourselves against an impossible standard. But what if we could change that? What if we could make the choice to speak to ourselves in a way that is supportive, encouraging, and loving? Changing the way you talk to yourself starts with awareness. It's about noticing the words you use when you think about yourself and asking whether those words are kind, uplifting, or harsh and judgmental. The language we use with ourselves has a profound impact on how we feel about ourselves and how we show up in the world. If your internal dialogue is full of self-doubt and criticism, it's no wonder you might feel stuck, overwhelmed, or lacking in confidence. But if you start to shift that language to one of kindness and encouragement, you begin to see yourself in a whole new light. One of the first steps in changing your inner dialogue is to stop being so hard on yourself. We all make mistakes, and that's okay. Mistakes are part of life. They are part of being human. But too often we dwell on them, replaying them over and over in our minds, punishing ourselves for things that have already happened. When you catch yourself doing this, take a deep breath and pause. Instead of continuing the cycle of self-criticism, try to reframe the situation. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this experience? Change your perspective, and you'll begin to change the way you view yourself and the world around you. It's also important to recognize that changing your self-talk doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, one that requires patience and practice. At first, you may find it challenging to be kind to yourself, especially if you've spent years being your own harshest critic. But that's okay. Start small. Each time you catch yourself thinking a negative thought about yourself, pause and replace it with something more positive. For example, if you think, I'm not good enough, try replacing it with, I am doing my best, and that's enough. Or if you think, I always mess things up, replace it with, I'm learning and improving every day. These small shifts in language can make a huge difference in how you feel about yourself and your abilities. Over time, as you practice speaking to yourself with more love and compassion, you'll notice a shift in your mindset. You'll begin to believe in yourself more, trust in your abilities, and approach challenges with a sense of confidence instead of fear. Changing the way you talk to yourself doesn't just affect your thoughts, it affects your actions. When you believe in yourself, you're more likely to take risks, pursue your goals, and show up in the world as the best version of yourself. This shift in self-talk also has a ripple effect on your relationships with others. When you treat yourself with kindness and respect, you're more likely to treat others the same way. The way we speak to ourselves sets the tone for how we interact with the world around us. If you speak to yourself with love, you'll start to see more love and positivity in your relationships. Changing the way you talk to yourself is not about pretending to be perfect or ignoring your flaws. It's about recognizing that you are worthy of love, compassion, and respect, no matter what. It's about understanding that you don't have to be perfect to be valuable. You are enough, just as you are. So for the next 3 days, make a commitment to change the way you speak to yourself. Be kinder, be more understanding, and be your own biggest supporter. It may not be easy at first, but with time and practice, you'll start to see the amazing impact it can have on your life. When you think about the people who support you, who do you picture? Maybe it's a family member, a close friend, or even a mentor. These are the people who believe in you, who remind you of your strengths, and who encourage you when you start to doubt yourself. Now imagine that person was you. Imagine becoming your own biggest cheerleader, constantly lifting yourself up, no matter what challenges or obstacles you face. We often rely on others to build us up, but the most important voice of encouragement should come from within. When you become your own biggest cheerleader, you unlock a sense of confidence and resilience that can propel you forward, no matter the circumstances. Being your own cheerleader means adopting a mindset that focuses on your worth, your potential, and your accomplishments rather than your shortcomings or mistakes. It means celebrating even the small victories and acknowledging your efforts, no matter how insignificant they may seem in the grand scheme of things. In the hustle and bustle of life, we can sometimes forget to stop and appreciate how far we've come. We're so focused on what we haven't achieved yet that we overlook the progress we've already made. By becoming your own cheerleader, you learn to acknowledge these small wins and give yourself credit for them. Self-encouragement can also mean practicing positive affirmations. You know, those little statements like, "I am capable" or "I am worthy of success." We've all heard them before, but how often do we actually say them to ourselves? It's easy to get caught up in negative self-talk, especially when life gets tough or when things don't go according to plan. But positive affirmations are a powerful tool to shift your mindset. They serve as reminders of who you are, of your abilities, and of your worth. When you repeat these affirmations, you're training your mind to focus on the positive aspects of yourself instead of the negative. In addition to positive affirmations, being your own cheerleader also involves being kind to yourself when things don't go perfectly. Life isn't always smooth sailing, and there will be times when you make mistakes or fall short of your goals. But instead of being critical or harsh with yourself, be compassionate. Recognize that failure is not a reflection of your worth, but an opportunity for growth. When you stumble, it's okay to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and try again. By showing yourself grace during these moments, you reinforce the belief that you are capable of overcoming challenges and that your worth is not determined by your successes or failures. Another way to be your own cheerleader is by setting realistic goals and celebrating the journey toward achieving them. Often we focus so much on the end result that we forget to appreciate the small steps it takes to get there. Whether you're working toward a personal goal, a career aspiration, or a new project, take time to acknowledge the progress you're making along the way. Even if the end goal seems far off, remember that every step you take brings you closer to it. By cheering yourself on throughout the process, you maintain the motivation and determination to keep going. Being your own biggest cheerleader also means protecting your mental and emotional health. It's easy to become overwhelmed by external pressures or to feel discouraged by setbacks, but by learning to be your own source of support, you can better navigate life's challenges. When you believe in yourself, you stop waiting for others to validate you, and you stop seeking external approval. You recognize that your worth is intrinsic, and that the only opinion that truly matters is your own. This inner confidence gives you the strength to face challenges head-on, knowing that you have the ability to rise above them. In addition to protecting your mental health, being your own cheerleader also involves surrounding yourself with positivity. While external support is important, it's equally crucial to cultivate an environment where you can thrive. This means spending time with people who uplift you, engaging in activities that bring you joy, and avoiding situations that drain your energy. When you become your own cheerleader, you begin to prioritize your well-being and make choices that reflect your worth. Becoming your own biggest cheerleader is a mindset shift. It's about changing the way you perceive yourself and how you react to challenges. By focusing on your strengths, celebrating your progress, and being kind to yourself, you create a positive feedback loop that reinforces your confidence and self-belief. It's about recognizing that no one else's approval is more important than your own, and that you are worthy of success, love, and happiness. So for the next 3 days, try speaking to yourself with the same encouragement and support you would give to a friend. Become your own biggest cheerleader, and watch how it transforms your life. The idea that we are worthy of the best life has to offer is one that many of us struggle to fully embrace. It's easy to get caught up in the hustle, focusing so much on achieving goals or meeting external expectations that we forget to acknowledge our own intrinsic value. We often find ourselves comparing ourselves to others, measuring our worth by what we have, what we do, or how others see us. But true worth doesn't come from external validation. It comes from understanding and accepting who we are, regardless of our circumstances or accomplishments. Recognizing your worth starts with self-awareness. It's about understanding that you are valuable not because of the things you have done or the titles you carry, but because you are uniquely you. Each person on this planet has a specific set of qualities, experiences, and perspectives that make them who they are. Your worth is not defined by someone else's standards, and it certainly isn't dependent on how you compare to others. You are worthy simply because you exist. The journey to embracing your worth involves shedding the layers of self-doubt, fear, and comparison that often cloud our vision of ourselves. One of the first steps in recognizing your worth is letting go of the need for external approval. We often seek validation from others, whether it's from family, friends, colleagues, or even strangers. While support from others can be valuable, relying on it for your sense of self-worth can be detrimental. People's opinions are constantly changing, and no one can define your worth more accurately than you can. When you learn to validate yourself, you free yourself from the pressure to meet others' expectations and start living for your own happiness and fulfillment. Self-validation means recognizing and celebrating your own efforts, acknowledging your achievements, and reminding yourself that you are enough. Another aspect of recognizing your worth is forgiving yourself for past mistakes and accepting that imperfection is part of being human. We all have things we regret or moments when we feel we could have done better. But these mistakes don't diminish our worth. In fact, they are opportunities for growth. When we forgive ourselves, we release the weight of guilt and self-criticism that can prevent us from moving forward. Recognizing your worth involves understanding that you are worthy of compassion just as much as anyone else. You are not defined by your past, but by your willingness to learn and evolve. A major barrier to recognizing our worth is the tendency to focus on our shortcomings. We are often our own worst critics, pointing out every flaw and failure while overlooking the strengths and successes that define us. But focusing only on what we don't have or what we haven't accomplished keeps us stuck in a cycle of negativity and self-doubt. Instead of dwelling on what's lacking, try to focus on the things you have done well, the challenges you have overcome, and the qualities that make you unique. Whether it's your ability to empathize with others, your creativity, or your resilience in difficult situations, these qualities make you worthy of recognition and respect. Another key part of recognizing your worth is setting boundaries. When we allow others to take advantage of our time, energy, or kindness, we begin to undervalue ourselves. Setting boundaries is not about being selfish, it's about protecting your own well-being and making sure that your needs are met. By learning to say no when necessary and prioritizing your own needs, you show yourself the respect you deserve. Recognizing your worth means understanding that your time, energy, and love are valuable resources, and you have the right to use them in a way that serves you and those who truly appreciate and respect you. Building self-worth also involves embracing your flaws and imperfections. No one is perfect, and yet so many of us strive for perfection, thinking that we need to be flawless to be worthy of love and success. Perfection is an illusion that only leads to frustration and disappointment. Recognizing your worth means accepting that your imperfections are part of what makes you whole. It's about seeing the beauty in your mistakes and understanding that every part of you, the light and the shadow, contributes to the person you are. When you stop trying to be perfect and instead focus on embracing your authentic self, you free yourself from unrealistic standards and allow your true value to shine. It's also important to surround yourself with people who recognize and appreciate your worth. The people we spend the most time with can significantly impact how we see ourselves. If you surround yourself with individuals who uplift, encourage, and support you, you begin to internalize those messages of worth and love. On the other hand, if you allow people who disrespect or undermine you into your life, it becomes much harder to recognize your value. Choosing relationships that nurture your self-worth helps reinforce the belief that you are deserving of love, respect, and happiness. Ultimately, recognizing your worth is a lifelong journey, one that requires patience, self-compassion, and a willingness to break free from the limiting beliefs that hold you back. It's about choosing to see yourself as deserving of the best, no matter what has happened in your past or where you currently find yourself. When you recognize your worth, you give yourself permission to pursue your dreams, set healthy boundaries, and live a life that aligns with your values and desires. You stop looking for validation from the outside world and start living from a place of inner confidence, self-respect, and unconditional love. There is a tendency in life to fall into patterns of negative thinking, especially when we're faced with challenges or difficulties. It's easy to get stuck in a cycle of self-doubt, anxiety, and frustration, where we focus only on the problems and the obstacles that stand in our way. These negative thoughts can spiral out of control, leading us to feel hopeless or incapable. But what if we had the power to break this cycle? What if we could interrupt our negative thinking before it takes over and start shifting our mindset to one of possibility and hope? The first step in interrupting negative thinking is becoming aware of it. Most of the time, we don't even realize how much we engage in negative self-talk until we stop to pay attention. It can be as simple as saying, "I can't do this," or "this is too hard," or even "I'm not good enough." These thoughts are so ingrained in our daily lives that we don't even notice how much they impact our mood, our energy, and our actions. But when we become aware of them, we can start to challenge them and replace them with more positive, empowering thoughts. One way to interrupt negative thinking is to simply pause and breathe. When you catch yourself thinking negatively, take a moment to stop, breathe deeply, and reset. By taking a pause, you create a mental space where you can step back from the emotions and reframe the situation. Instead of allowing negative thoughts to dictate your actions, you can choose to respond with more positive or neutral thoughts. For example, If you're thinking, I'm never going to get this right, pause and tell yourself, I'm learning and mistakes are part of the process. By interrupting the negative thought with a more constructive one, you prevent it from taking over your mind and creating unnecessary stress. Another powerful way to interrupt negative thinking is to replace self-critical thoughts with self-compassion. It's easy to be hard on ourselves, especially when we don't meet our own expectations or when we face setbacks. We might think, I should have done better, or I'm not good enough. But these thoughts only serve to keep us stuck in a cycle of self-judgment. Instead, try replacing these thoughts with kinder, more understanding ones. When you catch yourself thinking negatively, ask yourself, would I say this to a friend who is going through a tough time? Chances are you would offer words of encouragement, understanding, and patience. So why not offer that same level of compassion to yourself? When you speak to yourself with kindness, you break the cycle of negativity and create space for growth and healing. It's also important to recognize that negative thinking often stems from fear, fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown. We often allow our fears to take over our thoughts, convincing ourselves that we're not capable of achieving our goals, or that things will never get better. But fear doesn't have to control us. When we interrupt negative thinking, we also disrupt the fear that holds us back. Instead of letting fear paralyze us, we can choose to face it head-on with courage and confidence. By focusing on what we can control and taking small, actionable steps, we begin to overcome the fear that feeds negative thoughts. Another strategy for interrupting negative thinking is to practice gratitude. When we focus on what's going wrong in our lives, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by negativity. But when we shift our focus to the things we're grateful for, no matter how small they may seem, we begin to see life in a more positive light. Gratitude helps us break free from the trap of negative thinking by reminding us of the good things in our lives. It helps us put things into perspective and find joy in the present moment. Whether it's appreciating a warm cup of tea, the kindness of a friend, or the beauty of nature, taking time to acknowledge the positive aspects of our lives can help us interrupt negative thoughts and create a sense of calm and contentment. Another way to interrupt negative thinking is to focus on solutions rather than problems. It's easy to get bogged down by the challenges we face, but constantly dwelling on the problems only makes them feel bigger and more insurmountable. Instead of focusing on the obstacles, try to shift your focus to finding solutions. Ask yourself, what can I do to move forward? Or what's one small step I can take to make this situation better? By focusing on solutions, you take control of the situation and stop allowing negative thoughts to control you. It shifts your mindset from one of helplessness to one of empowerment. One of the most powerful ways to interrupt negative thinking is to practice mindfulness. Mindfulness involves being fully present in the moment, without judgment or distraction. When we practice mindfulness, we become more aware of our thoughts and emotions, and we can choose how to respond to them. Instead of getting caught up in a spiral of negativity, we can observe our thoughts with curiosity and let them pass without attaching to them. Mindfulness helps us break the cycle of negative thinking by teaching us to detach from our thoughts and find peace in the present moment. Interrupting negative thinking is not something that happens overnight. It takes time, practice, and patience. But the more we make an effort to challenge our negative thoughts, the easier it becomes to replace them with more positive and empowering ones. By interrupting negative thinking, we free ourselves from the weight of self-doubt and fear, and we open ourselves up to the possibility of growth, success, and happiness. We all have a tendency to be hard on ourselves, especially when we don't meet our own expectations, or when we feel like we've fallen short of what we believe we are capable of. It's easy to criticize ourselves for not doing enough or for not being good enough. But what if, instead of beating ourselves up, we chose to speak with love, respect, and patience to ourselves? What if we treated ourselves with the same kindness and understanding we would offer to a loved one in times of struggle? Speaking with love, respect, and patience to yourself means recognizing that you are human, and like everyone else, you have flaws, limitations, and moments of weakness. But it also means understanding that your worth isn't defined by your imperfections. We all have moments where we mess up or fall short, but that doesn't make us any less deserving of kindness and compassion. When we speak to ourselves with respect and patience, we allow ourselves the grace to grow and improve without being weighed down by guilt or self-judgment. Respecting yourself in the way you speak to yourself starts with acknowledging your own humanity. We often set standards for ourselves that are impossible to meet, thinking that we have to be perfect to be valuable. But perfection is a myth. No one is perfect, and trying to meet an impossible standard can be exhausting and discouraging. It's important to recognize that it's okay not to be perfect. You are worthy of respect and kindness, regardless of your flaws or mistakes. Treat yourself as you would treat a friend who is struggling with patience, understanding, and encouragement. Respecting yourself also means honoring your boundaries and your needs. It's easy to put others before ourselves, to give and give without considering our own well-being. But self-respect requires that we take care of ourselves first. When you speak to yourself with respect, you acknowledge that your needs are just as important as anyone else's. This might mean saying no when you need to, setting boundaries in relationships, or taking time for yourself when you're feeling overwhelmed. It's about recognizing that you have the right to care for yourself, and that doing so is not selfish but essential to your well-being. Patience with yourself is also key to speaking with love and respect. We live in a fast-paced world where we often expect things to happen quickly and effortlessly. But growth, healing, and success take time. When we make mistakes or face setbacks, it's important to be patient with ourselves. Growth is a journey, not a destination, and sometimes it takes longer than we would like. Being patient with yourself means understanding that progress doesn't happen overnight, and that every step forward, no matter how small, is a victory. It means acknowledging that setbacks are a part of the process, not a reflection of your worth or abilities. When you speak to yourself with love, respect, and patience, you also begin to shift your mindset from one of scarcity to one of abundance. Instead of focusing on what you lack or what you haven't yet achieved, you focus on the progress you've made and the things you have accomplished. You recognize your own value and understand that you don't need to be perfect to be worthy of success and happiness. This mindset shift allows you to approach challenges with a sense of possibility, knowing that you have the strength and resilience to overcome them. Being kind to yourself doesn't mean ignoring areas where you need to improve. It doesn't mean excusing bad habits or avoiding responsibility. Instead, it means approaching those areas with the same kindness and patience that you would extend to a friend. It means recognizing that you are worthy of growth, and that every effort you make to improve yourself is an act of self-love and self-respect. When you speak to yourself with compassion, you create an environment where you can thrive, where you are free to make mistakes, learn from them, and move forward. It's also important to remember that speaking with love, respect, and patience to yourself isn't always easy. We've been conditioned to be self-critical and to push ourselves to do more, be more, and achieve more. But the truth is, this constant pressure can be detrimental to our mental and emotional health. Being kind to yourself doesn't mean lowering your standards or settling for less. It means setting realistic expectations and recognizing that you are enough, exactly as you are in this moment. You don't have to prove your worth to anyone, least of all yourself. By choosing to speak to yourself with love, respect, and patience, you begin to build a strong foundation of self-worth and self-compassion. This foundation allows you to face challenges with confidence, pursue your goals with determination, and embrace your journey with grace. When you treat yourself with kindness, you open the door to endless possibilities for growth, healing, and success. You begin to believe in yourself, not because you are perfect, but because you know that you are worthy of all the love and respect the world has to offer. We live in a world where negativity often seems to take center stage. It's easy to get bogged down by criticism, failures, and setbacks. Our minds naturally gravitate towards the things that aren't going well or the challenges that lie ahead. But what if we made a conscious effort to change the narrative? What if we decided to embrace positive thinking, not as a fleeting idea, but as a permanent shift in how we approach life? Positive thinking doesn't mean ignoring the reality of difficult situations or pretending that everything is perfect when it's not. It doesn't mean being overly optimistic to the point of delusion. What it does mean is choosing to focus on solutions instead of problems, on opportunities instead of obstacles, and on growth instead of stagnation. It means consciously deciding to see the good in ourselves, in others, and in the world around us, even when things aren't going as planned. One of the first steps in embracing positive thinking is to become aware of the way you speak to yourself. Most of us don't realize how much negative self-talk we engage in until we start paying attention. We may tell ourselves that we're not good enough, that we'll never succeed, or that we don't deserve the things we want. These thoughts can be so ingrained in our minds that we hardly notice them. But when we start to challenge these negative beliefs, we can begin to replace them with more constructive, empowering thoughts. For example, if you find yourself thinking, "I'll never be able to do this," try replacing it with, "I may not have all the answers right now, but I have the ability to figure it out." Instead of thinking, "I'm not smart enough for this," try thinking, "I am capable and I can learn what I need to know." These small shifts in mindset can have a huge impact on how you feel about yourself and your abilities. Positive thinking isn't about pretending things are easy, it's about believing that you can handle whatever comes your way and that you have the strength to overcome challenges. Another important aspect of positive thinking is practicing gratitude. It's easy to get caught up in what we don't have or what's going wrong in our lives. But when we take time to focus on what we do have, we shift our perspective. Gratitude helps us see the good in our lives, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant. It can be as simple as appreciating a warm cup of coffee in the morning, the support of a friend, or the beauty of a sunset. By regularly practicing gratitude, we train our minds to focus on the positive aspects of life, even in the midst of hardship. Positive thinking also involves letting go of the need for perfection. We live in a society that often values perfection over progress, and this can be incredibly discouraging. We may feel like we're not doing enough or that we're falling short because we haven't achieved some ideal standard. But the truth is, no one is perfect, and perfection isn't necessary for success or happiness. In fact, striving for perfection can actually hold us back. Instead of focusing on doing everything flawlessly, focus on doing your best and learning from the experience. Each step forward, no matter how small, is progress. It's also important to recognize that positive thinking is contagious. When you choose to focus on the positive, you begin to influence the people around you. Your energy, attitude, and mindset can have a ripple effect on others. When you approach life with optimism and a growth mindset, others will notice. They'll feel encouraged by your positivity, and it may even inspire them to adopt a more positive outlook themselves. This creates a supportive, uplifting environment where everyone can thrive. Embracing positive thinking doesn't mean ignoring challenges or pretending that everything is always okay. It means acknowledging the difficulties but choosing to approach them with a mindset of hope, possibility, and resilience. Life will always present obstacles, but how we respond to them is what truly matters. Positive thinking helps us navigate life with more confidence, more peace, and more joy. In addition, positive thinking is closely linked to self-care. When you make a conscious effort to think positively, you're also taking care of your mental and emotional well-being. Negative thoughts can lead to stress, anxiety, and even physical health issues, while positive thoughts can help reduce stress, improve mood, and increase overall well-being. By choosing to focus on the good, you're not only improving your mindset, but you're also taking proactive steps toward better health and happiness. The more you practice positive thinking, the more it becomes a natural part of your mindset. At first, it may feel challenging, especially if you're used to thinking negatively. But over time, as you consistently replace negative thoughts with positive ones, you'll begin to notice a shift. You'll start to feel more confident, more resilient, and more capable of handling whatever comes your way. Positive thinking is a powerful tool that can help you overcome self-doubt, build better relationships, and achieve your goals. It all starts with making the choice to think positively and to believe in your ability to create the life you want. When we face challenges or difficult situations, our first instinct is often to focus on everything that is wrong, everything that isn't working, or everything we have yet to achieve. It's so easy to get caught in this cycle of self-doubt and frustration. We might look at our failures or mistakes and feel like we're not good enough, like we're falling behind or not measuring up to expectations. But what if, instead of fixating on our weaknesses, we decided to focus on our strengths? What if we shifted our perspective and took time to truly acknowledge the things we've done well, the progress we've made, and the skills we possess? Focusing on your strengths doesn't mean ignoring your weaknesses or pretending everything is perfect. It simply means recognizing that, like everyone else, you have a set of abilities and talents that are worth celebrating. Each one of us has unique gifts, experiences, and perspectives that contribute to who we are and how we approach the world. By focusing on your strengths, you start to see yourself in a new light. You begin to understand that your value isn't based on how you compare to others or how much you've achieved, but on the qualities that make you unique. One of the most empowering things you can do for yourself is to take a moment every day to remind yourself of your strengths. Maybe you're a great listener, a problem solver, or someone who brings people together. Perhaps you have a creative mind, a strong work ethic, or the ability to stay calm under pressure. Whatever your strengths may be, take time to recognize them and give yourself credit for them. It's easy to forget about the things we're good at, especially when we're caught up in the hustle of life or in the midst of a challenging time. But acknowledging your strengths allows you to build confidence in yourself and in your abilities. One of the main reasons we often focus on our weaknesses is that we believe we have to be perfect. Society teaches us that success is about having no flaws, no mistakes, no failures. But perfection is a myth. No one is perfect, and the pursuit of perfection often leads to frustration and burnout. Instead of chasing an impossible standard, focus on being the best version of yourself. Understand that your strengths are more than enough to get you through difficult situations, and that your growth comes not from being perfect, but from being willing to learn and improve. When you focus on your strengths, you also start to see more opportunities. Life has a way of opening doors for those who believe in their abilities and who use their strengths to make a difference. By focusing on what you do best, you can find creative solutions to problems, take on challenges with confidence, and pursue new ventures with enthusiasm. It's not about avoiding challenges, but about approaching them with the mindset that you have what it takes to succeed. In the workplace or in your personal life, focusing on your strengths can also have a profound impact on your relationships with others. When you acknowledge your strengths, you not only feel more confident, but you also become more aware of how you can help and support those around you. Maybe you're the one who always knows how to lighten the mood in a tough situation, or you have the ability to offer constructive feedback that helps others improve. When you focus on your strengths, you begin to see how your unique abilities contribute to the success and happiness of those around you. Focusing on your strengths also helps you overcome self-doubt. We've all been there, those moments when we question our abilities, when we feel unsure of ourselves or our decisions. But when you take time to recognize your strengths, you begin to counter those feelings of doubt. Instead of worrying about what you might not be good at, you remind yourself of what you can do. This shift in thinking helps you face challenges with resilience and self-assurance. By focusing on your strengths, you also set yourself up for success. When you align your actions with the things you're good at, you increase the likelihood of achieving your goals. Whether it's in your career, your studies, or your personal life, using your strengths to propel you forward creates a sense of momentum. You begin to build on your existing abilities, developing them further and setting yourself up for continuous growth. At the same time, focusing on your strengths doesn't mean ignoring areas for improvement. It's important to recognize that we all have room to grow and that weaknesses don't define us. What it does mean is that instead of fixating on what you're not good at, you start by acknowledging and using what you are good at. By doing so, you build the foundation for greater success and a more positive self-image. The more you focus on your strengths, the more you'll believe in your potential and the more you'll accomplish.
God forgive me for the things I've done and the fire I still run from. You were poison in a pretty face. I was wrecked, you were my grace. I made peace with the fall I took when you held me close but never looked. I thought you'd be the one to lead. Turns out it was me. Now baby, I'm gone and I'm never turning back around. I'll be the shadow you made that won't back down. You'll see me in your sleep, like the truth you never speak. Yeah, baby, that's what you did to me. I stayed up with a shattered chest, dreamed of you and your silhouette. I kissed a ghost in a photograph, but you faded out too fast. Now I know you're full of regret, but I'm not losing sleep on that. You built this ache inside my skin, so don't ask where I've been. Now baby,